What if the real builders of the pyramids aren't who we think they are? For decades, Graham Hancock has challenged mainstream history with bold claims about lost civilizations and advanced ancient knowledge. Now, he says he's found proof that changes everything we thought we knew about the Great Pyramids. From star alignments to mysterious ancient texts, this isn't just speculation, it's a story that might reveal the greatest cover-up in archaeology. The question is not only who built the pyramids, but also why. Were they simply tombs, or something far more mysterious? Were the ancients trying to leave us a message in stone, written in alignments, numbers, and astronomical symbols? So buckle in. This is a journey across time, myth, and stone. And by the end, you may find yourself asking, do we truly know who really built the pyramids? Graham Hancock's alternative history idea. When Graham Hancock burst onto the scene with his book Fingerprints of the Gods in 1995, he was not presenting himself as an academic but as an investigator who dared to ask different questions. He wasn't satisfied with the neat narrative that history textbooks delivered. He looked at the pyramids, the Sphinx, and other monumental sites around the world and thought, this doesn't add up. His central thesis was simple but radical. Long before recorded history, there was a civilization with advanced knowledge, one that left traces around the globe. For Hancock, the pyramids are a prime example. He argues that their precision, astronomical alignments, and sheer scale suggest knowledge far what we expect from a Bronze Age society. He is not saying the Egyptians did not build them, but rather that they may have inherited knowledge or even foundations from an earlier culture. In his view, this is part of a larger pattern. Ancient sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey or structures in South America show similar signs of advanced thinking. A big part of Hancock's alternative history centers on the idea of catastrophe. He suggests that this earlier civilization was nearly wiped out by a cataclysm, possibly the melting of ice sheets at the end of the last ice age around 12,000 years ago. The survivors, he speculates, spread across the world, seeding knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and myth. Over time, this knowledge blended into local cultures, eventually manifesting in monuments like the pyramids. This idea positions Hancock not just as a researcher, but as a storyteller. He connects myths of a global flood, tales of lost lands like Atlantis, and traditions of sky gods bringing wisdom to humanity. To him, these stories are not just legends but faint echoes of real history. The pyramids, in this framework, are monuments that preserve and express that lost wisdom. Of course, such ideas are not accepted by mainstream Egyptology. But Hancock has always thrived outside the boundaries of academia. His appeal lies not just in his arguments but in his willingness to challenge orthodoxies and his knack for painting history as an unfinished puzzle. For many, he makes history exciting again, even if scholars roll their eyes. The proof he brings. When Hancock speaks of proof, he often begins with astronomy. The Great Pyramid, he points out, is aligned almost perfectly to true north, a feat that modern surveyors still admire. For him, this is evidence that the builders had an extraordinary grasp of geometry and orientation. He adds that the three Great Pyramids of Giza line up with uncanny similarity to the three stars of Orion's belt. To Hancock, this is not a coincidence but a deliberate design meant to mirror the heavens. He also emphasizes numbers and proportions. Hancock has drawn attention to measurements of the Great Pyramid that appear to encode knowledge of the Earth itself, its circumference, the length of the solar year, or the dimensions of the planet. Such precision, he argues, suggests that the builders were working with knowledge that should have been far their era. If accurate, this would be a stunning revelation that someone in antiquity had mapped and measured the world. Myth and legend form another layer of Hancock's evidence. He frequently references global flood myths, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to Noah's Ark, pointing out their eerie similarities. He suggests these stories may be remnants of a real disaster, perhaps the rapid flooding caused by melting ice at the end of the last ice age. For Hancock, the pyramids may be a survival of this earlier culture, built with knowledge passed down through myth and memory. Then there is the Sphinx, which Hancock often brings into the conversation. Along with others like Robert Schoch, he has argued that the erosion patterns on the Sphinx suggest it was weathered by heavy rainfall. Since Egypt has been largely arid for thousands of years, this would imply that the Sphinx, and possibly the Giza complex, dates back far earlier than conventional history suggests. If true, this would radically rewrite Egypt's timeline. Taken together, these strands astronomy, mathematics, mythology, and geology form what Hancock calls his proof. He does not present a single smoking gun but rather a tapestry of anomalies that, in his view, can only be explained if there was a forgotten civilization behind it all. Whether one finds this compelling depends largely on how open one is to connecting dots across disciplines. Mainstream view and criticisms. Mainstream Egyptology, of course, sees things differently. The pyramids of Giza, according to the scholarly consensus, were built during Egypt's Old Kingdom, roughly 4,500 years ago. Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure are credited with commissioning the three Great Pyramids. Archaeologists point to inscriptions, workers' villages, and quarry marks as solid evidence of this timeline. For them, the pyramids are products of Egyptian ingenuity, organization, and devotion to their kings. Critics of Hancock argue that his ideas are often more romantic than scientific. The Orion correlation, for example, has been challenged on the grounds that the alignments are not as precise as he claims. Astronomers have noted that while there is a resemblance between the pyramids and Orion's belt, the match is not exact, and alternative star patterns could be drawn just as easily. They suggest that Hancock is seeing patterns where none were intended. Similarly, the claims about the Great Pyramid encoding Earth's dimensions have been labeled numerology. Skeptics point out that if one looks hard enough, one can find all sorts of mathematical coincidences in large structures. Critics say Hancock sometimes cherry-picks numbers or uses approximations that suit his thesis while ignoring inconsistencies. The Sphinx erosion argument also divides opinion. While Hancock and Schock argue for rain erosion, other geologists maintain that the weathering could be caused by wind, sand, or other factors. They insist that the evidence does not require pushing the Sphinx back to 10,000 years ago. Without clear archaeological context, the mainstream remains unconvinced. For Egyptologists, the real strength of their case lies in the tangible artifacts, the inscriptions, the remains of workers' settlements, the tools, and the logistics of construction recorded in various ways. To them, the pyramids are marvels of human determination within their own time, not mysterious inheritances from a lost civilization.